And I can tell you, the one thing wealthy people have mastered is... Hi and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Olajumoke. A very warm welcome and thank you to all of my new subscribers. So I tested positive for... and it has been quite a battle to get through the recovery process, but thankfully I am towards the end of it. But I decided wild horses could not stop me from making this video and putting it out there. And on that cheery note, let's dive straight into the video. A lot of hardworking individuals are never going to be wealthy. Now that might sound like a very harsh thing to say, but unfortunately, it is the disproportionate and sad part of our reality. How many hardworking individuals, and I mean really hardworking individuals, nurses, teachers, electricians, carpenters, cab drivers, people whose jobs require a lot of physical strength, how many of those individuals do you know who are actually truly wealthy? And how many of those will achieve true financial freedom in their lifetime? I would venture to say, unfortunately, not a lot of those individuals. Now, you might say a lot of the jobs I just mentioned happen to be in the lower paying sectors when it comes to the spread, if you will, of jobs available. That is correct to a certain degree, but there are individuals out there who happen to work in well-paying sectors who might seem seemingly rich on the surface, but are not wealthy. It isn't hard work that is going to build you wealth. It is what you do with the proceeds of your hard work that's going to build you wealth. And that's why in this video, I wanted to share 6 practical steps that can actually help in starting that journey towards financial freedom and eventually building your wealth. Now, number 5 and 6 are very important, so please watch until the end of the video. Now, I think we will all agree that economic stability provides you with opportunities and experiences that you may not otherwise be able to enjoy. Imagine a life where you don't have to worry about your bills and how to make ends meet, especially in today's world where for some people, affording groceries for a balanced diet is such a luxury and a challenge. Number 1, get very comfortable talking about money. Now, I realize that in some cultures, that might be seen as a taboo. People don't like to talk about money. But the irony is that the rich talk about money all day long. They are constantly seeking out individuals who are like-minded and sharing ventures, plans, successes, sometimes failures with these individuals. We even have TV stations that are dedicated to talking about wealthy people's ventures and talking about their companies. One of those TV stations is called Bloomberg. Bloomberg is a financial station that talks about companies, about wealthy individuals all day long. That's literally all they talk about. Even CEOs are aware of each other's earnings. Sometimes that's in the public domain through financial reports of companies. And if it's not made public, a lot of these wealthy individuals talk about how much they earn. But for some reason, we ordinary workers are encouraged not to talk about our pay levels or our compensations in way of bonuses. I've always found that very strange. If you're not allowed to talk about your pay or your compensation, how on earth are you meant to know whether you're being properly compensated for all the hard work that you've put in over the year? And secondly, if you don't talk about money, about finances, about opportunities, about how to make yourself better financially, how are you meant to start improving your financial health? It's very important to get comfortable talking about money. I've been lucky because by virtue of what I do, I talk about capital, about money, about investments pretty much all day long. If you never engage in these conversations and the dialogue, you might be missing out. Number 2, follow your talent, not your passion. I'm sure we've all heard, follow your passion and you'll never have to work a day in your life. People often mistake their hobbies for their talent or their passion. Just because you enjoy doing something does not mean you're good at it and you should actually do it as a career. It's very important that we lean into our strengths and our advantages. So you might be in a job at the moment that is not necessarily something that you're completely talented at. That's perfectly fine. But your talent is hidden in those things that you find very easy to do and you're actually very good at it, i.e. people tend to seek you out for that specific thing. That more likely than not is your talent and it's your core competence. It's the one thing that's going to set you apart and put you in the top tier of performers. That is more likely than not what is going to make you wealthy. I tell you this, when my builder told me how much he earns annually, I said to myself, honey, you're in the wrong profession. He out earns some senior VPs in investment banking. He's a millionaire and he doesn't have formal education. He doesn't have a postgraduate degree, none of that. But he's found his talent and he's capitalizing that to build his wealth. So follow your talent, that thing that you're very good at, and not necessarily your passion. Unless, of course, you happen to be an expert in your passion. Number 3, find a partner whose financial goals, visions, and objectives are aligned with yours. Now, that's very difficult to do if you're already coupled up, but I think we'll all agree that one of the top reasons relationships tend to break down is money. If you're a frugal individual who happens to be extremely considerate about their finances, getting with a spendthrift most likely will spell trouble down the line or even lead to divorce in some extreme cases. I would say save yourself the headache and the anguish. Get a teammate who's on the same wavelength as you, because of course the team is usually, if not always, stronger than the individual. Number 4, train your savings and investment muscle. A lot of people, when they get paid, will take their income and spend it on depreciating assets, if you can call them that. Clothes, electronics, cars, essentially things that do absolutely nothing positive for their finances. It is very, very hard to be disciplined and to train yourself to pay yourself first and invest in your future immediately you get paid. And it's very difficult to get yourself into the investing mindset. Now, this is a personal example. When I was still in my 9-to-5 job, my last level of pay was actually considered to be in the top 2% of earners in the United States. If I had just relied on my income and did not invest whatsoever, I wouldn't have been able to take off. It's been 2.5 years now since I've worked for someone else. I wouldn't have been able to do that. But because I trained my investment muscles, I was sure to put away a chunk of my income every single month into different investments that are now funding my lifestyle now that I'm out of a 9-to-5 job. As I mentioned earlier, what you do after you've worked hard, i.e. what you do with the proceeds of your hard work, your income, your bonuses, your compensation, that is ultimately what's going to determine how quickly you can build your wealth and how successful you are at it. Following on from that point, number 5, start by being a super earner and then transition into being a super owner. Now, this is how majority of my clients made their wealth. Not everyone is born into wealth. Majority of the wealthy individuals that I work with started by, number 1, using their talents to become super earners, i.e. top quartile in their companies or their industries, and they took the proceeds of their hard work, their compensations, they invested over time, and now they are super owners. They own businesses, they own assets, and now their lifestyles are being funded by their assets. And this really is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. When you're wealthy, you have assets that fund your lifestyle. Essentially, your money works for you. When you're rich, you might be rich in liquidity terms, i.e. you make a lot of money every year, for example, or you're cash rich. But being cash rich is very different from being wealthy. And that's why I say hard work will not build your wealth. Sure, it might make you a super earner, depending on the industry that you work in, but it's not what's going to build your wealth. What you do with the money you make from being a super earner is essentially what's going to determine whether you become a super owner. Number 6, master the tax game, especially when it comes to your personal finance. Now, I'm not a tax expert, and I certainly don't know enough about the US tax system, but I know quite a fair bit about the UK tax system because it's my domicile and it's jurisdictionally what affects me the most. And I can tell you, the one thing wealthy people have mastered is tax avoidance. Not evasion, of course, because that would be illegal, but they are very good at protecting their assets and their wealth from taxation. Did you know that majority of the ultra wealthy individuals in the US pay between 6 to 8% taxation, whereas you and I pay north of 30 to 45%. That is ludicrous. But they are smart about their taxes. They use corporations, they use trusts, they use generational skipping, charitable donations, they use life insurance policies, all in efforts to legally avoid taxation. And it works. So when you hear about very wealthy individuals who just happen to be giving away all of their wealth to charity, God bless them, of course, but it's not completely altruistic. There's a very, very strategic and considered tax implication to giving away wealth, because you can write off some of those donations when it comes to paying taxes. It's a very interesting, yet a little bit convoluted system and structure, but if you're interested, all of the information is out there. And this is an area that a lot of normal folks are not aware of. You can get tax relief on almost everything. For example, you can get tax relief on your ex-spousal maintenance if you're divorced, for instance. You can get tax relief on professional subscriptions. So I, for example, I'm a chartered financial analyst, CFA. I can get tax relief. There are many, many professional bodies out there. A lot of people, by virtue of the jobs they do or their industries, are part of these professional bodies. And when you pay your annual dues to these bodies, that payment itself is tax deductible. When you gift charities, you can also get tax relief on a portion of your gifting. Other examples include renting out a room in your house, married couples allowances. There are so many tax relief structures out there, but people are not aware of them. And for those in the UK, if you are part of a professional body, you can go to gov.uk to find a whole list of bodies that are approved for tax relief. I once worked with a client who spent close to 1.2 to 1.5 million pounds to avoid a £7 million tax bill over 7 years. The rich have mastered this tax game, and you and I need to do the same. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.